Captain Daeho Kim stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the stars move slowly past the windows. The new Soul was not a warship. It carried no heavy weapons or thick armor. Instead, it was built for talking, for making peace between angry aliens who wanted to fight each other. Daeho had been doing this job for 15 years now. He was good at it. When two alien races started shooting at each other, the Galaxy Council called humans to fix the problem. Humans were known across the galaxy as the best peacekeepers. They could talk to anyone and make them stop fighting. "Captain," said Jinwoo Choi from his seat at the communications panel. Jinwoo was young, only 25, but he was smart and good with languages. "We are getting close to the meeting point," Daeho nodded. Today they were going to help solve another fight. This time it was between the Draknari Empire and the Vex Collective. The Draknari looked like big lizards that walked on two legs. They were strong and proud, and they got angry fast. The Vex were different. They looked like living crystals, tall and thin, and they thought very slowly but were very smart. "What are they fighting about this time?" Daeho asked. Dr. So-Min Lee looked up from her datapad. She was the ship's expert on alien cultures. She knew more about how aliens thought than almost any human alive. "It is the same old story," she said with a tired smile. "Both sides want the same planet. The Draknari say they found it first. The Vex say they need it more because their population is growing." Daeho shook his head. After 50 years in the Galaxy Council, humans had heard this story many times. Aliens fought over planets, trade routes, and mining rights. They fought over things that humans thought were silly, but humans always tried to help them find a way to share. "Any word from Admiral Bo-Ra?" Daeho asked. "She is still at the big meeting on New Busan," Jinwoo said. "The Council is talking about some new problems in the outer parts of the galaxy." New Busan was humanity's pride and joy. It was a whole planet that humans had built to be a place where any alien could come and feel safe. 15 million humans lived there, along with millions of aliens from dozens of different species. It had the best schools, hospitals, and research centers in the galaxy. Many aliens sent their children to study there. The planet was also the main meeting place for the Galaxy Council. When big decisions needed to be made, all the alien leaders came to New Busan. They trusted humans to keep them safe while they talked. "Captain, we are now in the Corvin system," Jinwoo announced. Through the windows, Daeho could see two groups of ships facing each other. On one side were the dark angular ships of the Draknari Empire. They looked like metal teeth ready to bite. On the other side were the beautiful crystal ships of the Vex Collective. They seemed to glow with their own light. Between the two fleets, space was empty. Neither side wanted to shoot first, but neither side wanted to back down either. This was where humans came in. "Dr. Lee, what do we know about their leaders?" Daeho asked. So-Min pulled up files on her screen. "The Draknari fleet is led by War Chief Kordan. He is young for a Draknari leader, only 60 years old. He wants to prove himself to his people. The Vex are led by Crystal Singer Velnara. She is very old, maybe 300 years. She has seen many wars and does not want another one." This was good news. If the Vex leader did not want to fight, Daeho could work with that. The hard part would be convincing the young Draknari that backing down was not the same as being weak. "Jinwoo, open a channel to both fleets," Daeho ordered. The young man's fingers moved quickly over his controls. "Channel open, Captain." Daeho took a deep breath. This was the part of his job he loved most. "This is Captain Daeho Kim of the human vessel New Soul. I am here on behalf of the Galaxy Council to help resolve this dispute. I invite both fleet commanders to come aboard my ship so we can talk." There was a long pause. Then the Draknari warchief appeared on the main screen. He was big even for a Draknari with dark green scales and yellow eyes. "Human captain," he said in a deep voice, why should I talk? "The crystal beings have stolen our rightful claim." Before Daeho could answer, another screen appeared showing the Vex leader. She looked like a tall, thin woman made of blue crystal. When she spoke, her voice sounded like musical notes. "War Chief Kordan speaks without knowledge. My people have documents proving our claim to this world. See?" Kordan growled. "They lie with their music words." Daeho held up his hand. "Please, both of you. Fighting will not solve this problem. It will only hurt both your people. Come to my ship. Let us look at all the facts together. I promise that whatever we decide will be fair to both sides." The two alien leaders looked at each other across the screens. Finally, Velnara spoke. "I will come, human captain. Your people have always been fair to mine." Kordan was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Very well. But if the crystal singer tries to trick me, I will not be responsible for what happens. 2 hours later, both alien leaders sat in the conference room of the New Soul. Dr. So-Min had prepared the room carefully. The temperature was set to be comfortable for both species. The lighting was soft, not too bright for Draknari eyes or too dim for Vex senses. There were comfortable chairs and plenty of space, so neither leader felt crowded. Daeho sat between them. On the table were maps, legal documents, and survey reports about the disputed planet. "Let us start with the facts," he said. "This planet has water, good soil, and valuable minerals. Both your peoples could use it." "But we found it first," Cordon insisted. "My grandfather's grandfather led the first expedition to this system 200 years ago." Velnara's crystal body seemed to hum softly. "Finding is not the same as claiming. Your people looked at the planet but did not stay. They did not build anything or leave any markers. We were busy fighting the hegemony war," Cordon said. "We could not stay, but we planned to come back." Dr. So-Min leaned forward. "What if there was a way for both your peoples to benefit from this planet?" she asked. Both aliens looked at her. "What do you mean?" Velnara asked. "The planet is big," So-Min explained. "It has 3 large continents. The Draknari need mining sites for their metals. The Vex need growing space for their crystal gardens. These things do not have to be in the same places." Daeho smiled. This was why he loved working with Dr. So-Min. She always found ways to make everyone happy. "What if we divided the planet?" he suggested. The Draknari could have the mining rights to 2 continents. The Vex could have the 3rd continent for their crystal farms. Both peoples could have trade stations in orbit. Cordon frowned. "Half a planet is not as good as a whole planet. But half a planet is much better than a destroyed planet," Velnara pointed out. "And much better than a war that kills thousands of our people." The negotiations went on for 6 hours. Daeho and his team worked hard to find solutions that both sides could accept. They talked about mining quotas, trade agreements, and safety zones. They discussed what would happen if problems came up later. Finally, both leaders agreed to the deal. They would share the planet. The Draknari would get their metals and the Vex would get space for their growing population. Both sides would benefit, and no one would die in a useless war. As the alien leaders prepared to return to their ships, Velnara approached Daeho. "Thank you, human captain. Your people truly are the galaxy's greatest gift." Cordon came over too. "I did not want to admit it, but the crystal singer is right. Without humans, we would all be fighting and dying instead of talking and living." After both leaders left, Daeho sat in his chair and felt good about the day's work. This was what humans did best. They brought peace to a galaxy that had known too much war, but Dr. So-Min did not look happy. She was still studying her datapad, frowning at the information on the screen. "What is wrong, So-Min?" Daeho asked. She looked up at him with worried eyes. "I have been tracking military movements across the galaxy for the past few months. Many council species are building up their fleets. The hegemony has built 50 new warships this year. The swarm has hatched 1 million new soldier drones. Even smaller species are buying weapons. Maybe they are just being careful," Jinwoo suggested. "There are always pirates and raiders in the outer systems." So-Min shook her head. "This is too much for pirates. And all these buildups are happening at the same time. It is like they are all preparing for the same big war." Daeho felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "Have you reported this to the council?" "I tried," So-Min said. "But they say I am being paranoid. They say humans always worry too much about military things because of our violent history." The communication panel beeped. Jinwoo answered it and then looked up with surprise. "Captain, we have a priority message from the council. They are calling an emergency session on New Busan. All council species are required to send representatives immediately." "What is the emergency?" Daeho asked. Jinwoo read from his screen. "They say there are growing tensions in the outer rim systems. They want to discuss new security measures to keep the peace." Dr. So-Min looked even more worried. "Captain, I do not like this. Why call the meeting on New Busan? Why not on the council homeworld like usual?" Daeho had to admit she had a point. New Busan was humanity's world, but it was also home to millions of innocent civilians. It seemed strange to discuss military matters there, but orders were orders. The New Soul. Ambassador Hyejin Yoon walked through the halls of the council building on New Busan. She had been humanity's voice in the Galaxy Council for 20 years. In all that time, she had never seen the alien delegates look so nervous. The Dreknari representatives kept checking their weapons, even though weapons were not allowed in the building. The Vex delegates hummed strange songs that made the crystal walls vibrate. Even the usually calm hegemony ambassadors with their 6 arms were fidgeting with their ceremonial robes. Something is wrong, Hee-Jin thought to herself. She had learned to read alien body language over the years. These were not the actions of beings who came to talk about peace. In the military section of New Busan, Colonel Tae-Young Kang was having similar thoughts. He stood in the Planetary Defense Center, watching the screens that showed ships arriving from all over the galaxy. "Too many ships." "Sir," said one of his officers, "we now have over 300 alien vessels in orbit. That is more than we have ever seen here before." Tae-Young frowned. "What types of ships are they?" The officer checked his screen. "Most of them are listed as diplomatic vessels, but our sensors show they are heavily armed. Some of these diplomatic ships have enough firepower to destroy a small moon." "That does not sound very diplomatic," Tae-Young muttered. He picked up his communication device. "Get me Admiral Bora Park immediately." While Tae-Young was trying to reach the Admiral, Dr. Yoonji Han was working late in her research lab. She studied alien cultures and languages, trying to understand how different species thought and communicated. Tonight, she was working on something that made her very worried. For weeks, she had been intercepting alien communications. Most were normal: requests for supplies, reports about trade, messages between families. But some were different. They were coded in ways she had never seen before. "Computer, run another analysis on the encrypted messages," she said. The computer's voice replied, "Analysis complete. The messages appear to be using an old military code from the First Galactic War. The code name appears to be Purity Alliance." Yoonji's blood ran cold. The First Galactic War had happened before humans joined the galaxy. It was a terrible conflict where several alien species tried to wipe out races they thought were inferior. Millions had died before the Galaxy Council was formed to prevent such wars from happening again. "Computer, what does Purity Alliance mean?" "Unknown. This term does not appear in any historical records." Yoonji gathered her data and ran toward the council building. She had to warn Ambassador Hye-Jin. At the same time, Admiral Bora Park was in a secret meeting with other human military leaders. They were discussing Dr. So-min's reports about the military buildups across the galaxy. "We have to take this seriously," Bora said. "So-min has never been wrong about these things before." General Yoo-Jin Nam, who had come from Earth for the meeting, nodded. "Our intelligence sources confirm her data. Every major council species has been building weapons and training soldiers, but they all say it is for defense against Outer Rim pirates. Pirates do not require this level of preparation," Bora replied. "This looks like preparation for a major war." "But who would they fight?" asked another officer. "The galaxy has been at peace for 50 years. Bora and Yoo-Jin looked at each other. They both had the same terrible thought, but neither wanted to say it out loud. Back in the council building, Ambassador Hye-Jin was listening to speeches from the alien delegates. Each species talked about the dangers in the Outer Rim. They spoke about the need for stronger security measures. They all agreed that something had to be done to protect the galaxy from these mysterious threats. But Hye-Jin noticed something strange. Every speaker kept looking at her when they talked about threats to galactic stability. Their words were about Outer Rim pirates, but their eyes were on the human delegation. "Ambassador Yoon," said a voice behind her. She turned to see Dr. Yoonji Han rushing toward her with a datapad in her hands. "Dr. Han, what are you doing here?" Hye-Jin asked. "I have been monitoring alien communications," Yoonji said quickly. "There is something called the Purity Alliance. They are using old war codes. I think they are planning something terrible." Before Hye-Jin could respond, the main speaker called for attention. It was Admiral Korthak of the Hegemony, a tall being with 6 arms and gray skin. His 4 eyes looked down at the assembled delegates. "Fellow council members," he said in his deep voice, "we face a threat unlike any in our history. A species that grows too fast, learns too quickly, and spreads too far." Hye-Jin felt her heart start to beat faster. She had a bad feeling about where this speech was going. "For 50 years, Korthak continued, we have watched this species grow stronger. They have learned our secrets, studied our weaknesses, and gained our trust. They call themselves peacekeepers, but I ask you, who watches the watchers?" Now all eyes in the room were definitely looking at the human delegation. Hye-Jin stood up slowly. "Admiral Korthak, are you talking about humanity?" I am talking about the greatest threat our galaxy has ever known, Korthak replied. A species that reproduces faster than any other. A species that adapts to any environment. A species that has been studying us while pretending to help us. Swarm Queen Visara, who looked like a giant insect with 4 arms and compound eyes, rose from her seat. The human things have been among us for 50 cycles. In that time, they have learned our military capabilities, our trade routes, our planetary defenses. They have positioned themselves at the center of our government. They know all our secrets. This is ridiculous, Hyejin said, trying to keep her voice calm. Humanity has brought peace to the galaxy. We have stopped wars, not started them. Exactly, said Crystal Singer Morthane of the Vex Collective. His crystal body glowed with an angry red light. You have stopped our wars so that you could study us. You have made us weak and dependent on your help. And now you know everything about us while we know nothing about your true capabilities? Hyejin looked around the room. Every alien delegate was staring at her with suspicion and fear. What are you suggesting? She asked. Admiral Korthak's 6 arms gestured dramatically. We are suggesting that humanity is a cancer that must be cut out before it spreads further. You have 15 million of your kind on this world. Millions more scattered across the galaxy. You are everywhere, learning everything, preparing for something. Preparing for what? Hyejin demanded. For the day when you decide you no longer need to pretend to be peaceful, Swarm Queen Visara said. For the day when you use everything you have learned to conquer us all. Dr. Yunji grabbed Hyejin's arm. Ambassador, we need to leave now. But it was too late. The doors to the council chamber had been sealed. Armed guards from various alien species surrounded the human delegation. I'm afraid you cannot leave, Admiral Korthak said. You see, we have already begun Operation Cleansing Storm. Your fleet is being disabled as we speak. Your planetary defenses have been hacked by our cyber warfare specialists, and soon this threat will be eliminated forever. Hyejin felt the blood drain from her face. You are talking about genocide. We are talking about survival, Crystal Singer Morthane replied. Your species is too dangerous to be allowed to continue existing. You learn too fast, adapt too quickly, and grow too strong. In 100 years, you would dominate the galaxy. We cannot allow that to happen. But we have never tried to dominate anyone, Hyejin protested. We have only tried to help. And that is what makes you so dangerous, Swarm Queen Visara said. You make others depend on you. You make them trust you. And then, when they are weak and helpless, you strike. Colonel Taeyong's voice crackled over Hyejin's communication device. Ambassador, we have a problem. Our defense systems are being jammed. Unknown ships are taking positions around the planet. We cannot contact our fleet. Admiral Korthak smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Your colonel speaks truly. At this moment, forces from 12 council species are surrounding this world. Your ships have been disabled. Your defenses have been neutralized. And in 1 hour, this planet will be cleansed of the human infection. You cannot do this, Hyejin said desperately. There are 15 million innocent people down there. Children, families, researchers who have done nothing wrong. There are no innocent humans, Morthane replied. Every human is a potential threat. Every human child will grow up to be a danger to galactic stability. This is a surgical operation to remove a cancer before it can spread. Dr. Yunji was frantically working on her datapad. I am trying to send a warning to the human fleet, she whispered to Hyejin. Your communications are being blocked, Admiral Korthak said. He had heard her whisper with his enhanced hearing. No warnings will be sent. No help will come. This ends today. On his ship far from New Busan, Captain Daeho Kim suddenly felt his communication systems go dead. Jinwoo, what happened to our communications? I do not know, Captain, the young officer replied. Everything just stopped working. It is like someone is jamming all frequencies. Dr. Somin looked up from her instruments with alarm. Captain, I am detecting massive energy buildups around New Busan. It looks like the entire council fleet is powering up their weapons. That cannot be right, Daeho said. They are supposed to be at a peace conference. President Sung Ho-jang sat in his office on Earth, staring at reports that made no sense. The numbers were too big, too terrible to understand. 14.2 million people, gone, in less than 2 hours. The door opened and General Yujin Nam walked in. Her face was pale and her hands were shaking. Behind her came Admiral Bora Park, who had escaped from New Busan just minutes before the attack began. Tell me this is not real, President Zhang said quietly. General Nam placed a datapad on his desk. I wish I could, sir, but we have confirmed it with multiple sources. The Galaxy Council attacked New Busan without warning. They used our own defense systems against us. Most of the population never even knew what was happening. Admiral Park sat down heavily in a chair. They jammed all communications first. Then they hacked our orbital platforms and turned them on the cities below. After that, they brought in their own ships to finish the job. How many survivors? The president asked. About 50,000, Park replied. Captain Daeho Kim managed to rescue most of them. They are on their way to our hidden bases in the Outer Rim. President Jang closed his eyes. He had been the leader of humanity for 8 years. In all that time, he had worked for peace. He had believed that humans could make the galaxy a better place through cooperation and understanding. Why? He asked. Why did they do this? General Nam activated a recording device. We managed to intercept some of their communications during the attack. Listen to this. Admiral Korthak's voice filled the room. The human infection has been successfully removed. Phase 1 of Operation Cleansing Storm is complete. Begin Phase 2. Hunt down all remaining human settlements and eliminate them. Another voice, belonging to Swarm Queen Basara, replied, What about human ships that are still in space? Destroy them all, Korthak answered. No human can be allowed to survive. They are too dangerous to exist. President Jang opened his eyes. They were no longer the eyes of a man who believed in peace. They called us an infection. Yes, sir, General Nam said. According to our intelligence, they formed something called the Purity Alliance. They believe that humanity will eventually take over the galaxy, if we are allowed to continue existing. Admiral Park leaned forward. Sir, we have received demands from the Council. They want all remaining humans to surrender immediately. They are offering to relocate us to prison planets where we will be watched and controlled. Prison planets, the President repeated slowly. They say it is for the good of galactic stability. Park continued. They claim that humans are too aggressive and adaptable to be allowed freedom. President Jang stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the lights of Earth's cities. Billions of humans going about their daily lives, not knowing that aliens across the galaxy wanted them dead. General Nam, he said without turning around, I want you to gather the survivors from New Busan. I want to hear their stories. All of them, sir. I want to know exactly what the Council did to our people. Every detail. Every horror. And then I want you to broadcast those stories to every human in the galaxy. 3 days later, Dr. So-Min Lee stood before a camera in a secure bunker on Earth. She had been one of the first people rescued from New Busan. Her clothes were still dirty from the escape, and her eyes were red from crying. My name is Dr. So-Min Lee, she began. I was on New Busan when the Council attacked. I want to tell you what they did to our people. She took a deep breath and continued. They did not just bomb military targets. They aimed at schools first. They targeted hospitals. They destroyed the children's parks and the elderly care centers. When people tried to surrender, they shot them anyway. The camera stayed focused on her face as she spoke. I saw a Draknari soldier shoot a human child who was running toward his mother. The child could not have been more than 5 years old. When I asked the soldier why, he said, Young predators are the most dangerous. Her voice broke as she continued. They burned our libraries. They destroyed our art museums. They even bombed the memorial gardens where we honored the dead from previous wars. They did not just want to kill us, they wanted to erase every trace that we had ever existed. More survivors told their stories. Each one was worse than the last. The Council forces had not acted like soldiers. They had acted like exterminators removing pests. Dr. Kyungmin Park, a teacher, described how alien soldiers had locked children in their school and then set it on fire. Engineer Dongwoo Kim told how Council ships had targeted evacuation shuttles filled with families trying to escape. The stories went on for hours. By the time they were finished, every human in the galaxy knew the truth. The aliens who had pretended to be their friends had tried to commit genocide. President Jang addressed the human race that evening. His speech was broadcast to every human colony, every human ship, and every human outpost in the galaxy. My fellow humans, he began, you have heard the stories from New Busan. You know what the Galaxy Council did to our people. They murdered 14 million innocent civilians. They targeted children and the elderly. They tried to erase us from existence. His voice grew stronger as he continued. For 50 years, we have been the galaxy's peacekeepers. We have stopped wars, saved lives, and brought hope to countless worlds. We believed that all intelligent life had value. We believed that cooperation was better than conflict. The president paused and looked directly into the camera. We were wrong. The Galaxy Council has shown us that mercy is weakness in their eyes. That peace is just another word for submission. They have awakened something in us that we hoped would never see the stars again. Behind him, General Nam stepped into view. She was carrying a data pad with classified information that had been kept secret for decades. General Nam is going to tell you about Project Prometheus, the president said. For 50 years, while we served as peacekeepers, our military scientists were studying every species in the Galaxy Council. They mapped their biological weaknesses, analyzed their technology, and developed weapons specifically designed to exploit their vulnerabilities. General Nam activated her data pad. We hoped we would never need these weapons, she said. But we were not fools. We knew that someday, someone might threaten humanity's survival. So we prepared. Images appeared on screens across the galaxy. Detailed files on every council species. Their genetic structures, their technological dependencies, their psychological weaknesses, everything. The Dreknari Empire, General Nam explained, depends on a specific hormone for their regeneration abilities. We have developed a virus that destroys that hormone. Without it, even small wounds become fatal. More images appeared. The Vex Collective uses quantum resonance to maintain their crystal bodies. We have sonic weapons that can shatter their resonance frequencies and turn them to dust. The information kept coming. The hegemony's cybernetic implants can be hacked and turned against them. The swarm's hive mind can be disrupted with targeted pheromone weapons. Every species that attacked us has a weakness, and we know exactly what it is. Engineer Mi Young Seo stepped forward. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her eyes burned with anger. I designed most of these weapons, she said. For 50 years, I hoped they would never be built. But after what happened to New Busan, I have already begun production. President Jiang returned to the center of the screen. The Galaxy Council thinks they have destroyed us. They believe that humans are weak because we choose peace over war. They are about to learn how wrong they are. His voice became cold and hard. They have made a terrible mistake. They have attacked our children. They have murdered our families. They have declared war on humanity itself. The president looked directly into the camera, and every human watching felt a chill run down their spine. We did not want this war. We tried to prevent it. But since they have chosen to awaken the beast, we will show them what humanity looks like when we stop pretending to be civilized. General Nam stepped forward again. All human military forces are now operating under War Protocol 7. All human civilians in council space are ordered to evacuate immediately. Anyone who cannot evacuate should hide and wait for rescue. How long do we have to prepare? Asked Admiral Park from off-camera. The council thinks we are broken, the president replied. They think we will spend months mourning our dead and begging for mercy. They are giving us time to surrender peacefully. A cold smile appeared on his face. Instead, we will use that time to prepare their destruction. In 6 months, when they expect us to surrender, we will give them something else entirely. Engineer Seo held up a data pad. The first wave of new weapons will be ready in 3 months. The second wave will be ready in 5 months. By 6 months, we will have enough firepower to sterilize every council homeworld. Sir, said Captain Dae-Ho Kim, who had just arrived from the Outer Rim. What about the innocent aliens? The ones who did not participate in the attack? President Jiang considered this carefully. Any species that withdraws from the council and surrenders their military forces will be spared. Any species that continues to support the council will be treated as enemies. And the leaders who planned this? Admiral Park asked. The president's expression became frightening. Admiral Korthak, Swarm Queen Visara, Crystal Singer Morthane, and all the others who participated. Commander Hyunwoo Lim checked his stealth suit one last time before stepping into the teleporter. Around him, 50 other members of the Ghost Battalion made their final preparations. They were about to begin humanity's revenge against the Galaxy Council. Remember, Hyunwoo said to his team, we are not here to conquer territory. We are here to send a message. The Council thinks humans are weak because we tried to make peace. Tonight they learn what we are like when we choose war. The Ghost Battalion was humanity's most elite special forces unit. They had been trained in secret for decades, learning to fight against every known alien species. Their quantum stealth technology made them invisible to all Council sensors. Their weapons were designed to exploit specific alien weaknesses that Dr. Soman and her team had discovered during 50 years of peaceful contact. Target confirmed, reported Jin-Ho Park, the team's intelligence specialist. Admiral Korthak is in his command bunker on the Hegemony homeworld. Security is heavy, but they are not watching for human infiltrators. Hyunwoo smiled grimly. They should be. 3 months had passed since the massacre at New Busan. The Galaxy Council had been celebrating their successful elimination of the human threat. They had even begun dividing up human territories among themselves. Admiral Korthak had claimed Earth for the Hegemony Empire, but humanity had not surrendered. Instead, they had vanished. Every human ship had disappeared from Council space. Every human colony had been evacuated. For 3 months, the Council had received no communications from any human anywhere. They assumed that the survivors were hiding in fear. They were wrong. Dr. Kyung-siko stood in his laboratory on a secret human base, putting the finishing touches on his latest creation. The weapon in his hands looked like a simple metal sphere, but it contained something that would terrify the Draknari Empire. The bioweapon is ready, he reported to Admiral Bo-Ra Park over the communication system. One deployment will affect every Draknari within a 50-kilometer radius. What exactly will it do to them? Admiral Park asked. It will destroy their regeneration hormones, Dr. O explained. Draknari can normally heal from almost any wound within hours. After exposure to this weapon, a paper cut will kill them slowly. In another part of the base, Captain Soo-Young Bae was running final tests on humanity's new secret warship. The Incheon's Revenge was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was powered by a controlled black hole that humanity had learned to create and contain. All systems green, she reported to her crew. The gravitational distortion field is stable. Weapons are charged and ready. Her ship was one of 12 new dreadnoughts that humanity had built in secret. Each one had enough firepower to destroy a planet. The Council had no idea these ships even existed. Captain, said her weapons officer, are you sure these weapons will work against Council shields? Soo-Young checked her tactical display. The Council's shield technology is based on electromagnetic barriers. Our gravitational weapons ignore electromagnetic fields completely. Their shields might as well not exist. The first strike began at exactly midnight, Council Standard Time, on 17 different worlds. Ghost Battalion teams materialized inside heavily defended Council facilities. They moved like shadows, invisible to all sensors, striking without warning. Commander Hyunwoo led the assault on Admiral Korthak's bunker. The 6-armed hegemony leader was meeting with his senior staff when the lights suddenly went out. What is happening? Korthak demanded. Before anyone could answer, his security chief fell to the floor with a strange metal device attached to his neck. Then another officer collapsed. And another. We are under attack, someone shouted. Alert all forces. But it was too late. The Ghost Battalion had already disabled all communications. The bunker was cut off from the outside world. Hyunwoo stepped out of the shadows, his stealth field deactivating. Admiral Korthak, he said in perfect hegemony language. My name is Commander Hyunwoo Lim of the human military. You are under arrest for the crime of genocide. Korthak stared at the human in shock. Impossible. All humans were destroyed at New Busan. You destroyed a city, Hyunwoo replied calmly. You did not destroy a species. And now you will answer for what you did. The Admiral reached for his weapon, but Hyunwoo was faster. A small dart struck Korthak in the arm and he fell to the ground, paralyzed but still conscious. This weapon is specifically designed for hegemony physiology, Hyunwoo explained as his team secured the bunker. You will be conscious but unable to move for exactly 6 hours. That is how long it will take us to transport you to your trial. On the Draknari homeworld, Dr. Kyung-sik's bioweapon was being deployed by another Ghost Battalion team. The metal sphere was placed in the capital city's water treatment plant. Within hours, every Draknari in the city would be infected. The weapon was carefully designed. It would not kill immediately, that would be too merciful. Instead, it would make the proud warrior race helpless. Every small injury would become a death sentence. Every Draknari would have to choose between hiding in safety or facing the slow, inevitable death that came with any activity that might cause even minor wounds. But the most devastating attack was happening in space. Captain Soo-Young Bae's task force had arrived at the Corvin Nebula. where a massive council fleet was stationed. The council had placed 200 of their best warships there to guard against any human counterattack. "All ships, this is Captain Bay," she transmitted to her fleet. "Begin Operation Thunderstorm." The 12 human dreadnoughts dropped out of faster-than-light travel right in the middle of the council formation. The alien ships immediately opened fire, filling space with energy beams and missile swarms. None of it touched the human ships. "Gravitational shields holding at 100%, reported Su Young's defensive officer. "Their weapons cannot penetrate our distortion field." "Return fire," Su Young ordered. The Inchon's Revenge fired its main weapon, a focused gravitational beam that could collapse matter at the atomic level. The beam struck a council cruiser and simply erased it from existence. One moment the ship was there, the next moment there was only empty space. "All weapons continuous fire," Su Young commanded. The 12 human ships began systematically destroying the council fleet. Their gravitational weapons tore through council shields like they were made of paper. Ships that had survived dozens of battles were vaporized in seconds. The council ships tried to retreat, but the human vessels were faster. The gravitational distortion drives allowed them to move in ways that seemed impossible, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. In less than an hour, the entire council fleet was destroyed. 200 of their most advanced warships had been reduced to cosmic dust by 12 human vessels. "Mission accomplished," Su Young reported to Admiral Park. "No human casualties. All council ships destroyed." The news of humanity's counterattack spread across the galaxy within hours. The council leaders who had been celebrating their victory over humanity suddenly found themselves facing an enemy unlike anything they had ever imagined. President Sung Ho, Jiang addressed the galaxy from his secure command center on Earth. His message was broadcast on every communication frequency, reaching every world in council space. "Leaders of the Galaxy Council," he began. "3 months ago, you murdered 14 million innocent humans on New Busan. You called it pest control. You said we were too dangerous to be allowed to exist." His image appeared on screens across dozens of worlds. Council leaders who had been confident in their victory now looked nervous and afraid. "You were right to fear us," the president continued, "but not for the reasons you thought. You feared us because you believed we would conquer you through expansion and growth. You failed to understand the real danger." The president leaned forward and his eyes seemed to look directly at each viewer. "The real danger was what would happen if you forced us to abandon our principles. For 50 years we chose to be peaceful. We chose to help instead of harm. We chose to build instead of destroy. You took away our choice." Images began appearing on the screens. Footage from the Ghost Battalion raids. Recordings of council fleets being destroyed. Reports of Draknari warriors dying from paper cuts. "In the past 3 days," President Jiang said, "we have demonstrated what humanity looks like when we choose war instead of peace. We have captured or killed your military leaders. We have neutralized your fleets. We have deployed weapons that you cannot defend against. This is just the beginning." The president stood up, and behind him appeared a tactical display showing human forces moving toward council worlds. "You wanted to exterminate humanity because you thought we were too dangerous. You were correct. We are too dangerous for our enemies to survive. You have 72 hours to surrender unconditionally. Any council species that lays down its weapons and submits to human authority will be treated fairly. Any species that continues to resist will be eliminated. You started this war by murdering our children. We will end it by whatever means necessary." The transmission ended, leaving council leaders across the galaxy staring at blank screens. On the Vex homeworld, Crystal Singer Morthane was meeting with other Vex leaders in an emergency session. Their beautiful crystal city had been singing with harmonious tones for centuries. Secretary General In Ho An stood before the assembled representatives of 47 different alien species. 6 months ago, these beings had been part of the Galaxy Council that ordered humanity's destruction. Today, they were prisoners waiting to learn their fate. The trials were being held on the memorial world that had once been New Busan. Where a thriving human city had stood, there was now a vast park filled with monuments to the 14 million dead. Each monument bore the name of a human who had died in the Council's attack. "The Galactic War Crimes Tribunal will now come to order," In Ho announced. He had been a judge before the war, known for his fairness and wisdom. Now he was presiding over the trials of those who had committed genocide against his own species. In the prisoner's dock sat the surviving leaders of the Purity Alliance. Admiral Korthak of the Hegemony was there, his 6 arms shackled with quantum restraints. Swarm Queen Vesara sat motionless, her compound eyes staring straight ahead. Crystal Singer Morthane had been rebuilt from the mineral dust of his homeworld, only to face trial for his crimes. Behind them sat dozens of other council leaders who had participated in or supported the attack on New Busan. Each one faced charges of genocide, crimes against sapient life, and violations of galactic law. Admiral Korthak, Inho said, addressing the first defendant, "You are charged with planning and executing the deliberate murder of 14.2 million human civilians."
How do you plead?
The Hegemony leader raised his gray head defiantly. "I plead not guilty by reason of species defense," he said in his deep voice. "Everything I did was necessary to protect the galaxy from human expansion." Admiral Changmin Ryu, who commanded the human enforcement fleet, stepped forward. "The prosecution will now present evidence of the defendant's crimes." Holographic displays appeared in the air above the courtroom. They showed recordings from the attack on New Busan, council ships deliberately targeting schools and hospitals, alien soldiers shooting human children who tried to surrender, the systematic destruction of cultural sites and civilian infrastructure. "As you can see," Admiral Ryu continued, "this was not a military operation against human forces. This was a deliberate attempt to exterminate the human species through the murder of innocent civilians." The recordings continued for hours. Each piece of evidence was more horrifying than the last. The council forces had not just killed humans, they had tortured them, humiliated them, and tried to erase every trace of human culture and achievement. When the evidence presentation was finished, Ambassador Yuri Kim stood to address the court. She had been appointed as humanity's chief negotiator for the post-war galaxy, and her first job was to ensure that justice was served. "Your Honors," she said, "the evidence clearly shows that the defendants planned and executed a campaign of genocide against humanity. They targeted civilians, including children and the elderly. They destroyed hospitals and schools. They attempted to eliminate an entire species simply because they feared human success. This was not war. It was extermination." Swarm Queen Vesara rose from her seat, her insect-like body clicking as she moved. "Human speaker," she said in her strange buzzing voice. "My actions were necessary for the survival of all species in the galaxy. Humans reproduce too quickly and learn too fast. If we had not acted, you would have dominated all of us within a few generations." Ambassador Yuri looked at the alien leader with cold eyes. "So you decided to murder 14 million innocent people to prevent something that might have happened in the future?" "Yes," Vesara replied without hesitation. "Sometimes harsh actions are necessary for the greater good." "And you see nothing wrong with killing children to prevent this imaginary future threat?" "The young are the most dangerous," Vesara said. "They would have grown up to become even more powerful than their parents." Ambassador Yuri turned to address the court. "Your Honors, you have heard the defendant's own words. She admits to planning the murder of human children because she feared what they might become as adults. This is the logic of genocide, killing innocents to prevent imaginary threats." The trials continued for 3 weeks. One by one, the council leaders were called to testify. Some tried to justify their actions as necessary for galactic security. Others claimed they were just following orders. A few even tried to argue that humans were not really a sapient species, and therefore could not be victims of genocide. None of their arguments saved them. Secretary General Inho delivered the final verdict on a cold morning, as artificial snow fell on the memorial park. "After reviewing all evidence and testimony," he announced, "this tribunal finds all defendants guilty of genocide, crimes against sapient life, and violations of galactic law." The alien leaders showed no emotion as their fate was announced. Admiral Korthak, Swarm Queen Vesara, Crystal Singer Morthane, and 17 other council leaders are sentenced to death by molecular dissolution. The sentence will be carried out immediately. The remaining defendants are sentenced to life imprisonment on Tartarus Station, where they will have time to contemplate the consequences of their actions. Tartarus Station was humanity's new maximum security prison, built in the empty space where the Vex homeworld had once existed. The prisoners would spend the rest of their lives watching the stars, knowing that their entire civilization had been destroyed because of their choices. The executions were carried out that afternoon, using the same gravitational weapons that had destroyed the Council fleets. The condemned aliens simply ceased to exist, their molecules scattered across space. As the trials ended, President Sung-Ho Jang addressed the galaxy from the Memorial World. His speech was broadcast to every inhabited planet in known space. "Today, justice has been served for the victims of New Busan," he began. "The leaders who planned and executed genocide against humanity have been held accountable for their crimes." Behind him, the monuments to the human dead stretched to the horizon. Each one was inscribed with a simple message: never again. "But justice is only the beginning," the president continued. "We must now build a new galaxy, one where genocide can never happen again. Today I am announcing the formation of the Galactic Union. With Earth as its capital, a new flag appeared on screens across the galaxy, a blue circle representing Earth, surrounded by stars representing all the worlds that would be protected under the new order. Unlike the old Galaxy Council, the Galactic Union will not be ruled by a few powerful species," President Jang explained. "Every world, every species, every individual will have rights that cannot be taken away, and those rights will be protected by the Human Defense Force." Admiral Changmin Ryu stepped forward to explain humanity's new role in the galaxy. "Human fleets will patrol all sectors of space," he announced. "We will prevent wars before they start. We will protect the weak from the strong, and we will ensure that no species ever again faces the threat of extinction. This is the never again doctrine," he continued. "Any government that attempts genocide, ethnic cleansing, or the systematic murder of civilians will face immediate retaliation from human forces. There will be no warnings, no negotiations, and no mercy for those who choose to become mass murderers." On worlds across the galaxy, alien populations watched these announcements with mixed feelings. Some were grateful that humans had ended the Council's oppressive rule. Others were terrified of humanity's new power, but all of them understood that the galaxy had changed forever. In the years that followed, the Galactic Union grew and prospered under human protection. Species that had been enemies for centuries learned to cooperate. Worlds that had been devastated by war were rebuilt with human assistance. The Draknari Empire, humbled by their military defeat and the loss of their regeneration abilities, became one of humanity's most loyal allies. They served as soldiers in the Human Defense Force, protecting other species from the same kind of aggression they had once practiced. The surviving Vex joined human research projects, using their analytical abilities to help solve galactic problems. They worked alongside human scientists to develop new technologies that benefited all species, even some of the smaller Council species that had participated in the attack on New Busan were eventually allowed to rejoin galactic society, but only after proving their commitment to peace through decades of supervised rehabilitation. Captain Dae-ho Kim, now promoted to admiral, stood on the observation deck of his new flagship as it patrolled the Outer Rim systems. The Soul's Peace was one of 50 human dreadnoughts that maintained order across the galaxy. "Admiral," said his new communications officer, a young woman named Hyewan Lee, "we are receiving a distress call from the Altair system. Pirates are attacking a civilian convoy." Dae-ho nodded. "Set course for Altair, maximum speed. Prepare all weapons." "Sir, should we try to negotiate with the pirates first?" Hyewan asked. Dae-ho looked at her with eyes that had seen too much. "The time for negotiating with murderers is over," he said quietly. "Our job now is to protect the innocent, not to talk criminals out of being criminals." The Soul's Peace arrived at Altair just as the pirate ships were preparing to board the civilian convoy. The merchant vessels were defenseless, carrying families and their possessions to new homes in the outer colonies.